Arkansas football is back. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Hogs with Nick Walters on the line from KARK4, Big Trail Nation, Fox 16 there in Arkansas. Nick, how you doing today?
Well, I'm doing pretty well, and I would say all Razorbacks fans are doing better than they have in like 4 years right now. So it's going great.
Oh, my goodness. We're talking about a football program that's gone way off the radar in regards to the college football nation. And so just to update everyone in regards to what this football program has looked like for the last 3 or 4 years, even the worst teams in the SEC go out and beat up on the group of five and the FCS teams. This team has been losing those types of non-conference games. And so with Nick, a 10-game SEC-only schedule, it looked like a brutal forecast for this football team. So what's happened?
Well, Sam Pittman happened, and Sam Pittman was supposed to be the worst hire in the SEC coming in last year, and of course, he's made a difference in that, and he's shown people that that's not the case. And of course, Barry Odom's done an awesome job with that defense so far. Kendall Briles on the offensive side has done enough to be sustainable to beat these teams like Mississippi State and Ole Miss and what could have been Auburn. So really, these Arkansas fans are looking at 3 straight could have been wins in the SEC, and of course, like you mentioned, they hadn't had an SEC win since 2017, no home win since 2016. So really elation going on with the Razorbacks fan base right now. But at the same time, some cautious optimism, just knowing where they've been and how it could get back to. But right now, Sam Pittman's looking like the hire for the future right now, no doubt. And all the players are really standing up. So a lot of great things to be happy about with the Razorbacks.
Yeah, all sorts of defensive standouts in grabbing a 20-0 lead at home against Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin's offense last week. 3 interception game out of Catalan and 6 interceptions total. Just the defense has been just torn apart in recent years. And what has happened there?
Well, first of all, you get a defensive coordinator like Barry Odom being the head coach at Missouri. So I think that's been a big step right there. And you have walk-on guys like Hudson Clark getting 3 interceptions last week, 7 turnovers for that defense through the last week at Ole Miss. So what a huge performance by the defense, and it really helped carry that offense because offensively, it's not like the Razorbacks were firing on all cylinders. I'm pretty sure Felipe Franks had a QB rating of about 28, right? And of course, Rakeem Boyd had a season high of 39 yards. That just goes to show how little he's done this year, yet the Razorbacks are here sitting at 2-2. But the defensive side of the ball, they've shown up the most. I mean, you look at the Auburn game, one of the other best offenses in the SEC, and they only got 30 or so points. And of course, that huge game against Mississippi State, a team that had just beaten one of the best teams in all of college football. So this defense is really carrying this team going forward. And I think the culture of Sam Pittman, what he's brought in, I think most people around Razorback Nation right now would say that every player wants to play for Sam Pittman, and he's brought a new culture in. And coming off of the culture of Chad Morris, it seems like that's been the big difference maker this year. And that's where you see 2 of the 3 last games for the Razorbacks resulting in SEC wins.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Hogs. We've got Nick Walters on the line to talk Arkansas football. Nick has joined us a number of times to talk Hogs, this being the best position they've been in during our conversations, that's for sure.
Definitely.
He keeps busy with KARK4, Fox 16 News, and Pig Trail Nation. Nick, when you look at when you made reference to what should be 3 wins, we'll fill in some people that may be unaware. Game on the Plains, Bo Nix spikes the football. Couple different things happened there in which the officials botched the situation. He fumbled the snap. Therefore, you shouldn't be able to spike the football. And then he obviously spiked it in the wrong direction and basically threw a backwards pass. There probably should not have been an attempted game-winning field goal by the Auburn Tigers, and they came away with a bit of a steal there, or Arkansas would be 3-1. So let's spin that into the positive that this Arkansas team's able to bounce back from what should have been a win, could have felt down about that, had their heads hanging low, and then they turn right around and they defeat Ole Miss and turn in that kind of effort.
Yeah, and look, here's the pulse of the entire Arkansas Razorbacks fan base right now. When you get that first monkey off your back with that Mississippi State win, to get their first SEC win since 2017 when it was a win against Ole Miss, it felt like that was a lot of pressure lifted off. But that Auburn loss, I felt like, was a really big blow because of how it ended. And that just makes their win over Ole Miss even that much more impressive. They didn't just go back to their old ways of being the Razorbacks, losing to every single SEC team and even some non-conference teams, right? Like the San Jose States of the world, right? But now you have this team going against Ole Miss, having a very serious win, going up big early. And like I mentioned earlier, it's without really the help of Rakeem Boyd, who was the lone bright spot from last year's Razorbacks team. Season high so far of 39 yards last week, 1 touchdown score. That was his first touchdown of the year. It's really been on the backs of Felipe Franks with that offense, and of course Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks had that SportsCenter #1 play last week, the one-handed catch to really lift the Razorbacks over Ole Miss. So a really serious performance from the Razorbacks to show their fan base that they are for real. At least what they look like right now, right? Getting that first home win in the SEC since 2016. So right now there's a lot of confidence in this Sam Pittman-led Razorbacks, and for very good reason.
Rivalry with Texas A&M has turned into something unique, certainly in the SEC Western Division. And even when the Hogs have been down on occasion, they've been able to spring up and challenge A&M. Now Texas A&M is coming in with a little bit of mojo themselves, defeated Florida 2 weeks ago. Your thoughts about the matchup with the Aggies?
Well, when I mentioned the cautious optimism with the Razorbacks and the fan base and with the media right now, this is what I meant. When you look at Texas A&M, they do already have a huge win over Florida under their belt. And, of course, they beat Mississippi State last week, and so has Arkansas. But when you look at Arkansas playing a team at Texas A&M, it's not going to be at AT&T Stadium this year. It's not the neutral playing field. It is going to be at Kyle Field. I think it's going to be a very tough matchup. And this is a game where I feel like the Razorbacks are going to come in with a lot of confidence, considering they won 2 of the last 3. Should have been 3 of the last 3 if you ask any Razorbacks fan, or if you ask Sam Pittman really and honestly, truly. But I think this is going to be a game where it's going to have to show if the Razorbacks are for real and if they can compete. And right now I think that if the Razorbacks go in like they did the last game when they put up 20 points unanswered in the first half, 20-0 at halftime against Ole Miss, if they came in with that kind of defensive firepower and keep up that aggressive nature with the Barry Odom defense, again, it's going to be fun to see. And it's going to be quick for Razorbacks fans to go back to their old ways and think this team wasn't for real all along. Let's just say Florida goes up a couple touchdowns. Well, they're going to go back to thinking, okay, it was a fluke all along. We're going to go back to losing just like we have for the last 3 years. This is a team that has been beat down on for 3 years. Hardly even an SEC team, it felt like at some points, because they've just lost so many games in that conference and out of conference. But with a new head coaching staff, I think this is going to be a big game against Florida to really prove to people that this coaching lineup of Sam Pittman, Barry Odom, and Kendall Briles, and of course all the guys on offense they brought in, like Felipe Franks, that they can compete with the best. You saw it in the first half of the Georgia game in the season opener, competing with the best in the SEC, one of them. And you saw with the Mississippi State game and the Ole Miss game, winning those games. So I feel like this is going to be a big one for Arkansas and that team to continue to build that confidence so they can go into games like Tennessee, Alabama, and put up a good fight.
You mentioned the ridiculous catch by Treylon Burks. He snagged 11 for $137 in that game, ran it 4 times for 46, a huge factor in the offense. Felipe Franks, most people familiar with him out of Florida. Rakeem Boyd, as you mentioned, not contributing heavily thus far, but the big numbers last year, and a number of defensive standouts from this past week. For those people going to sit down and watch Arkansas football for the first time, maybe in 3 or 4 years, anybody else that comes to mind, anybody that stood out that catches your eye?
Well, someone who stood out to me the entire season, except for last week because he wasn't playing, was Bumper Poole. I mean, Bumper Poole's been flying all over the field. And it just goes to show how much potential the Razorbacks defense has under Barry Odom. The fact that they held one of the best offenses, not in the SEC, but in all of college football, to that many points last week with Ole Miss, and won that game without their best defensive player, debatably the best player on their whole team as an overall player. Linebacker Bumper Poole has been something else this season, and that's something to look out for in this Florida game. The Razorbacks should be getting him back, and he's that captain of the defense. So to get him back along with Hudson Clark, the walk-on freshman, making an appearance, and him coming up big, Grant Morgan coming with 19 career-high tackles last week, this defense could be dangerous, and this could be a force to be reckoned with in the SEC.
To Nick's point, keep in mind that Matt Corral had bludgeoned the likes of Florida, Alabama, and Kentucky well over 300 yards, 8 TDs and 2 picks, and then he throws 6 against this Arkansas defense in the Hogs' 33-21 win. Nick, we appreciate you stopping by again. Nick Walters, KARK4, Fox 16, Pig Trail Nation. Appreciate the breakdown on Arkansas football, and hopefully the winning continues.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope for these fans. Go Hogs, right? Because these fans have needed it. And they want it really, really badly. And there's a lot of fan reactions from around here. I'm in Little Rock, Fayetteville's 3 hours away, but the whole state of Arkansas is really rooting for this team. And after 4 years of really just bad teams and a lot of letdown expectations, it's going to be a big one this year. And it's a lot of great hopes for Sam Pittman going forward.